All right, welcome back on this Thursday here on Burns and Gambo. I'm live from the Auction Community Studios. Gambo is live from his office at home. And thanks for hanging out with us here on this Thursday afternoon. The Arizona Cardinals obviously going into their bye week gives us the opportunity to really step back and not only kind of enjoy an NFL weekend where we can watch some other teams and really soak up and see what everybody else is doing, but really root for some outcomes and really root for, I think, the Philadelphia Eagles tonight against the Commanders. That would help. Really root for the Seahawks against the 49ers over the weekend on Sunday. That would certainly help. And it gives the Cardinals a chance to kind of rest and hit the reset button and things like that. It also gives us a chance, if we want, to take a look around the NFL at some players who used to be members of the Arizona Cardinals, and one in particular is getting a lot of attention. And I didn't love it. Okay, I was about to say I loved the way you framed this, Gambo. I didn't love it, but I liked the question that you asked about Zach Allen and whether the defensive lineman is the lone Monti Ossenfort mistake that he's made so far.
Hasn't been many of them, but at that point, Monty came in. There were tough decisions to be made. There were, did you want to, pay Zach Allen? Did you want to pay Byron Murphy? And they decided to let some key guys go. Well, there was a story on NFL.com about Pro Bowl sleepers. And, one for the Cardinals that was mentioned was Hjalte Froholt was mentioned as a Pro Bowl sleeper for the Cardinals.
Awesome.
And one that they mentioned was Zach Allen. And I said, all right, I haven't done as much of a deep dive into Zach. I know he's playing well this year, but I didn't know how well. Well, they pointed out. So I'm gonna read this one paragraph to you, and then we'll discuss it. Allen is doing it primarily from the interior as a multi-gap horse. His 42 pressures are the most by a defensive tackle through 10 weeks, and he's on pace for 71.4, which would be the most from a defensive tackle since Aaron Donald in 2021.
Whoa.
Allen's 11.7 quarterback pressure rate is number 2 among all defensive tackles, behind only Jets Pro Bowler Quinnen Williams, who has 100 fewer pass rush snaps entering Week 11. Allen isn't just getting after the quarterback. His 35 stops are tied for the most among all defensive linemen, and his 11 tackles for a loss are tied for third most. They called him a Tasmanian devil with a mean streak, and that he's been one of the most underrated players in the NFL for the past several seasons. This is a guy that the Cardinals had, and they let him go. And he was a draft pick, and he got paid a lot of money. I understand Monty's looking at it. You weren't sure what you had, and you let the guy go, and now he's popping. Zach Allen is having a great season. Now, so every once in a while you gotta look at it, and you gotta be real. Was that a mistake? Did the Cardinals make a mistake in letting Zach Allen go?
Yeah, Monti Ossenfort got hired. I don't know the exact date, but it was January of 2023. And then on March 13th of 2023 is when Zach Allen signed, you mentioned a lot of money, 3 years, $46 million, $32.5 million guaranteed. And at the time, I remember you and I both saying, hey, you know what? I mean, fine, let him walk. It's the Cardinals aren't going to be good. They have to hit the reset button. There's no reason to pay Zach Allen that kind of money now for a team that might be on a long-term kind of rebuild plan. And I tell you, I don't feel like in the moment, honestly, and I don't want to speak for you on this one, I'm just speaking for me. In the moment, I don't feel like I made a mistake in feeling that way about it. And I still don't feel like I made a mistake because I don't think anybody could have, I don't think it was realistic for a lot of people to think that the Cardinals could turn this around so quickly that they would need a Zach Allen this soon. Now, I say that. I'm the guy who picked him to win 11 games on accident, a few months ago when we were going through the schedule. So maybe there were a few people who could have looked at it and said, hey, don't let him walk. You're going to need him sooner than you think. But I understand probably the common thinking was, hey, this is really a 3-year rebuild. What's the point of giving Zach Allen a 3-year contract when we're really not going to reap the benefits of that until year 3? And if that's kind of the logic behind it, I understand why maybe this shouldn't be counted as one of Monti Ossenfort's mistakes. Does that make any sense?
It does. There's familiarity in Denver. Vance Joseph is their defensive coordinator. their defense pressure. They have one of the best pass rush units in the entire league. I think they're second in sacks, and they've got the third most pressures in the entire NFL. And he's 27 years old, and he's the reason why.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing to say that they made a mistake. I mean, sometimes you make mistakes.
No. Yeah, and I'm not trying to say they didn't. I guess that's my long-winded way of saying that if Monti Ossenfort had a crystal ball and could have looked into the future and said, hey, by the way, halfway through year number 2, your team's going to be close. You're going to be closer than you think. You're going to be better than you think halfway through year 2. I think he probably would have signed Zach Allen to a 3-year deal worth this kind of money because you could use a guy like Zach Allen. So if the question is, did Monti Ossenfort make a mistake in not keeping Zach Allen? I think the answer is yes, he did. He made a mistake, but I can understand why he made it, I think is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, Cardinals drafted him 3rd round 2019. And he was decent for the Cardinals, right? But he didn't pop like he is now. I mean, he was a decent player.
He was starting to pop that last year, if I remember, before
it's
he
almost
walked.
like Hassan Reddick.
Yes, it's a lot like Hassan Reddick.
It was almost like Hassan Reddick. His last year here, he had 5.5 sacks. Well, he's got 5 right now. But I think you're right. I mean, like his first year, second year, even third year, he's okay.
He's okay. He was good.
4th year, he did. He started to pop a little bit, but by then, you got to change a coaching change and a GM change and a lot of changes, and you got to make a decision. Do I want to pay this guy that I didn't draft all the $45 million? And it was a lot guaranteed. I can't remember what it was, but a lot of that was guaranteed.
For Zach Allen, it was 23.5. He got
23.5 million guaranteed for, and you're like, I just don't know if I want to allocate that money, and you let him go. He goes to Denver the first year, and he's good, and and I guess, Mitch, you could probably attest to this if you're there. I mean, Zach Allen's been the best defensive lineman on that team.
He's been leading the way in terms of, pressure rate. He's, been one of the best pressuring linemen in the league. And I don't
want the whole league.
In the sense that Vance Joseph is also running an offense that requires a lot of blitzing. They're one of the 3rd highest blitz rates in the league.
How's he run a defense?
Huh?
You said
he run his defense.
You said Vance Joseph is running an offense.
Did I say offense?
Yeah, you said. I know what you meant.
He's trying to usurp Sean Payton.
Yeah, exactly. They've converted Vance Joseph to offensive coordinator and everything. Right. So he's been very, very.
They're doing a lot of man and they're doing a lot of blitzing, which allows Zach Allen to just basically rip through the middle of lines, and that's where his success has been this year.
I mean, look, the thing is that when Monti Ossenfort first took over this team, we all knew, everybody knew, man, the cupboards were bare. There was nothing there. He had to, it's like a friend of mine, one of my best friends from high school, sent me a picture of the house that he grew up in, the house that I know him from as a kid. Somebody bought it from his parents many years ago, and Gambo, he sent me a picture of it a couple of weekends ago. They tore it down to the ground. They just tore it down to the ground. Rather than keep a wall or a room or do some kind of renovation,
they tore it down.
They literally razed it. Just knocked the whole thing down.
Man.
And I looked at the picture. I'm like, man, I spent so much of my life hanging out in that house with you, and now it's just gone. It's not there anymore. That's so weird. That's what Monti Ossenfort had to do to the Arizona Cardinals 2 years ago. There was nothing there. And so it would have been really hard in the moment to justify $23.5 million guaranteed for a defensive lineman that you probably weren't going to need for the next couple of years.
Listen, I totally get it. But we do have to, hindsight is
totally.
God, I wish you had Zach Allen right now.
Totally. Now,
he's killing it. He's actually absolutely having I wish you would. Right now, I wish you would have Zach Allen.
I'll tell you this: the one I don't second guess as much as Byron Murphy, in large part because of the success the Cardinals have had in drafting corners the last couple of years. I was looking up Byron Murphy, knowing we were going to talk about this. He's got 4 interceptions on the year. He's got the 4th or 5th best PFF grade on the Vikings defense. He's been great. He's been really good in Brian Flores' system up there. And we're going to see Byron Murphy here in about 2.5 weeks when the Cardinals play him. I don't second guess not keeping him, even though he would have come in a lot cheaper, because I feel really good about the state of the Cardinal secondary and how they've been able to address that in the draft and things like that. So that one, no. Zach Allen, make no mistake, they could use that dude right now in the worst kind of way. They could use Zach Allen. So, yeah, I get it. It's a great conversation. It makes you think about it.
Murphy has interceptions in 3 straight games. He's picked off a pass against the Rams, the Colts, and the Jaguars. No cornerback for the Vikings has had a streak that long since 1992, Byron Murphy. Now, I agree with you. I'd much rather have the defensive lineman than the secondary guy. Those were 2 good football players that because you came in and it was going to cost you a lot of money and you wanted cap space. You wanted to bring in your own guys. You let those guys go. I'm not so much missing on Murphy. Murph's a good player. But Zach Allen, with what he's doing, man, it's like, God, I wish you had that guy.
No doubt about it.
Thanks for watching Burns and Gambo. Click to see more from the guys and hit the button in the middle to subscribe so you never miss a video from Arizona sports.